Now, APRA bringing in these stricter rules for home loans. And look, it sounds good in principle, but really it's just going to make it more difficult for first home buyers, not so much those that have large amounts of property.
Yes, it's a good point. So, what APRA's done is that they've increased that interest rate buffer. So, when they decide how much to, when a bank decides how much to lend to someone, they take into account how much would that person be able to repay if interest rates were increased by 2.5%. Now, what APRA's done has risen that to 3%. So, I don't think this will have too much of an impact on prices. This is effectively reducing borrowing capacity by about 5%. But we know that 92% of borrowers, according to Commonwealth Bank, don't borrow that maximum amount anyway. The people who are most likely to borrow at that higher level tend to be people like first home buyers who are more constrained by what they are able to borrow. Investors as well, it could have an impact on because investors tend to pay a higher rate of interest anyway and can often be a bit more leveraged.
What about for those people that own property and want to draw back against the property as much as they possibly can and maybe invest that money elsewhere?
Well, you make a really good point. People who are already in the property market have have an asset that's grown in value significantly, probably over the last 12 to 18 months. So, what that does is it increases a person's usable equity to help them buy another property. Now, these are the buyers that are less likely to be borrowing their maximum capacity. So, you know, this big sector of the property market, these buyers are not really going to be impacted by this change.
Finally, the New South Wales government, we've seen a complete clean out. We've got a new Premier, we've got a new Deputy Liberals leader, we've got a new Deputy Premier and new Nationals leader. How is this going to affect the property market, particularly when we've heard from Dominic Perrottet, the former Treasurer of New South Wales, talk so solidly in and around reform?
Well, I mean, it remains to be seen. The level of price growth that we've been seeing in Sydney and, on realestate.com.au, since spring has kicked off, since we're moving closer to those vaccine thresholds, buyer confidence and seller confidence is growing. And, it seems to be running off on its own legs. So, we'll see if there is a difference, but I can't see any change in the trend anytime soon.
Just one quick one, and because I've been talking to various people throughout the week, and some of them are renters, and they were giving me the indication of how difficult it is to find the right property for the right amount of money, particularly for those looking for a family-orientated property.
Yeah. So there's been. If Are you talking about people who are looking to rent or
Yeah,
people who
to
are
people,
renting
no,
currently?
people
Yeah.
people are looking to rent to find the right house for their family.
Yeah. So we've seen the total number of rental listings available steadily decline over the last few months. It's incredibly competitive out there. Um, what what's happening is that the number of new listings coming online, available properties available to rent, is not keeping up with demand, which is quite extraordinary if you consider the fact that international migration is off at the moment. A lot of this is being driven by people relocating because of COVID, changing working conditions like remote working, things like that. And also this desire for more space. People have their kids at home while they're trying to work. There are a lot of factors pushing people to look for larger properties, but these are difficult to come by. The unit market tends to have more supply than the housing market. So for people who are looking to rent a house, particularly with a larger number of bedrooms, there's a real scarcity of stock on the market at the moment.